Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis. Today is May 22nd, and tomorrow starts Season of the Deep. And you will find me tomorrow streaming at about 8 a.m. Pacific time. And the reason for that is because the new trailer for Season of the Deep is going to go live. Now, granted, it's probably only going to be like a minute, but we're going to break it down, do a frame by frame, and all that fun stuff, so I can at least have you guys something to look at while I'm jumping straight into the actual season itself. So servers will go down about 8 o'clock Pacific time, I think. They'll come back up at about 10 o'clock. That's the goal. That's at least what they said they are going for. So plan on something along those lines. But we have a lot of changes that are actually confirmed to be coming with Season of the Deep. So what I wanted to do in this video is actually go over a lot of those. They're from previous TWABs, kind of give you guys a quick summation of stuff, touch on some exotics. Some of this has been in podcasts. Some of this I was out of town or sick or recovering from surgery. So I just kind of want to do a big recap so you guys know what's coming and you can think about stuff between now and then to kind of get ready for, think about loadouts. And the dungeon on Friday. The dungeon is dropping on Friday at reset. So I will be streaming that one as well. So come hang out on twitch.tv/Ebontis. I'll be over there for a good part of the week. And the next week is actually Diablo, so I'll be playing a pretty good amount of that too. So come hang out over there. But what I want to do right now, let me switch over to the browser. So I've got all of this stuff coming. So we've got a lot of changes coming between upcoming strand updates and other things of that nature. So it all started on the abilities tuning preview. And we got into kind of your icons with different changes to your fragment budgets. So the fragments for the amount of fragments you get per aspect. Each one of those, you got a Bastion, Juggernaut for the Titan, Chaos Accelerant for the Warlock, Trapper's Ambush, Shadow Dive, and Gunpowder Gamble for the Hunter. Each one of those are now going to have 2 fragment slots, so you get to pick 4 instead of 3, which is nice. I do always feel a decent amount limited. Super tuning updates. All supers get PvE damage resistance of about 20%, which is going to be big. Mostly a lot of this changes for roaming supers. Helps with their survivability in higher end content. And then also, just so if you are running around as a roaming super, you feel like it's a little more advantageous for the risk. They're also trying to buff up some of their damage too. So you'll see things like Golden Gun, PvE damage by 20%. Arc Staff, PvE damage by 20%. And again, pairing certain aspects with those is going to be beneficial. So Celestial Nighthawk plus 20%. You're going to probably notice that one. Arc Staff plus, trying to remember the Hunter exotic because it's not sitting in front of me, but it's the chest piece that basically extends it. 20% more damage. Spectral Blades, 35% damage. That's not nothing at all, and that means this is probably long overdue. So Spectral Blades in PvE, heavy attacks weaken on hit as well, so then you'll weaken them, get that debuff, and then be able to wail on them 35% harder. That definitely makes that one a bit more viable. Gathering Storm. So that's going to be more PvP stuff here. More damage against like Weld and Ward of Dawn, those kind of things, more damage against players. Mostly it seems like a lot of that's for PvP. Titan, you've got Fist of Havoc. Some of the changes to Fist of Havoc. Oh no, sorry, it's the melee that got a little bit nerfed, but obviously light attacks are cheaper for your super cost. Heavy attacks are still cheaper. Increased heavy attack PvE damage by 33%. So the big slams will hit harder and be about 50% cheaper to your super bar to use. Heavy attacks now blind targets near the center. So if you do get that slam off, you won't just instantly get wailed on, at least unless it's probably like a big super boss. Glacial Quake. I really still wish this was better. But Shiver Strike thrust speed is up by 10%. Light attack damage up by 20%. Let's see, Sentinel Shield, 20% PvE. Hammer of Soul, 10%. Honestly, like for the range you get out of that one, not bad, but I still wish it was probably a little more, just because you do get a little range protection from that one. But Burning Maul, it is going to be able to, the Cyclone will apply Scorch over time, which is probably going to do some damage to it. But I think the 10% for Burning Maul still could probably be more, but it's a little bit of a buff. Warlocks, Nova Warp, 15%. And a fully charged attack now makes enemies volatile on hit, which is going to be kind of nice for certain builds. Nova Bomb, just 20%. So if you're chunking that Nova Bomb in a Void build, you're just going to hit 20% harder. Storm Trance, 25% PvE bonus. Landfall Detonation and Seekers now jolt targets. Chaos Reach, 25% damage bonus. They helped your strafe speed. They adjusted the camera angle as well, and sustained damage will now jolt a target. Winter's Wrath in PvE by about 10%. And then Daybreak, they also fixed basically a camera issue so you can actually see what you're doing. Hunter's Threaded Spike is going to get some nice PvE damage, piercing abilities, things along those lines. Titans, Frenzied Blade is going to be a little bit speedier. Warlock, Arcane Needle, decreases the cooldown based on how many melee charges the player had stored. And the tracking is going to be a little bit stronger. Grapple, they just reduce the cooldown overall and the time between grapples to next to nothing, basically. Thread Generation, I think that's the one where as you do damage, you get like grenade energy back. So they're probably trying to nerf that one a little bit, and Trace Rifles were probably a little busted. But they're trying to make that a bit more reasonable. Stasis Tuning, Withering Blade, that's for like tracking players. Titans, Shiver Strike, maximum thrust while in flight increased, less downward. Hallow the Storm increased the width and freezing cone versus players by 31%. Warlock's Frost Pulse now provides 2 meters of additional melee lunge range after the activation. So if you do get frozen, you're probably pretty screwed if you're facing the end of that one. Titans. We did get our shoulder charges nerfed. Now it costs 15% of your melee energy to activate, so you're not going to use that as a mobility thing. The base cooldowns are lower and standardized, but again, every time you shoulder charge, it's going to use a little bit of that melee energy. So you got to wait. If you're at 100 strength, they're saying it'll be about 7 seconds till you get your shoulder charge back. So less mobility based shoulder charging, running around the map, which for balance is okay. I wish it was only a PvP change. Only so much I can do about that one. In Season 21, they're also making some adjustments like Knockout. So they reduce the lunge range, and that's just across the board. They're doing that for everybody. Shield Throw does a little bit more, better at tracking. Throwing Hammer, a little better on aim assist there. And then the Soul Invictus, the Sunspots will do more damage on tick, which will be nice if people stand in them. It's going to hurt. Hunters, the Snare Bomb will weaken for twice as long. That's actually really good. Proximity, weighted, and lightweight knives kind of all getting little buffs in lots of places. So take the details on those. Gunpowder Gamble, reduce the cooldown by half. That's massive. If you enjoy Gunpowder Gamble, that's about to be a lot more fun. Incinerator Snap, total damage versus players was actually reduced to the consistency of actually getting the aiming correct. Ball Lightning PvE damage by 30%. Some of these are not small. So your melees, your grenades, your supers, those things are going to be hitting chunkier than they were before. Chaos Accelerant Scatter Grenade increases the tracking, increases the submunition arming duration. That's a word that I probably haven't read before. Magnetic Grenade also increases the hold time for over a second longer. Lightning Surge. Let's see, if I'll fix an issue allowing Lightning Surge to deal more instances of secondary strike damage than intended. So some bug fixes in there as well. Scorch is going to just stay on targets longer. So it's going to be about 0.8 seconds longer on players, and then a second and a half longer on PvE. So if you do get the Scorch on there, but you can't quite get that next stack, like that next additional one to keep it going for that ignition, they're going to give you a little longer to work with that. Jolt is going to be 15% weaker, one of the few debuffs we actually get. Jolt is strong, still going to have the chaining effect to it. And the Scalar versus Combatants in PvE is, reduced it by an additional 20% by majors. So Jolt is going to be weaker, probably a little too strong, but, just know that it's not going to be quite as god tier as it was. Speed Booster for basically your activated speed booster from, arc when you're amplified. So a little more manageable jumping. Just the mobility on it felt a little off, so I guess they're trying to do some tweaks to that one. So that's the major ability tuning. Then we got the TWAB on the May 4th, and this is where we saw this picture. So we got to see, this is all Guardian game stuff, we got to see Season the Deep. So we know Sloane is coming back. We know she's got her, taken hand. I can't tell if it's, taken left leg, but her left arm looks normal. We haven't seen her face yet. Also, the big giant creature, potentially going back to, pretty much guaranteed to be going back to Titan, the planet of Titan. So we're getting a destination back at least for the rest of the year. I wish some of these destinations would hang around, but, we'll see how this goes. The big giant sea creature of doom. Not entirely sure where we're going with the story, but Titan's coming back, Sloane's coming back. Season of the Deep. Lore-wise, the Deep also includes, where the hive worm gods and all that stuff, proto-hive, very long, old historic stuff. That's the deep. So 2 insinuations of the word deep, both, deep in the ocean and then also like their old planet. So for the hive. So I don't know if this is going to be a point where we're going to see more Xivu or Wrath. Are we going to see a possible return of Savathun? Because her ghost is still out there. So everybody's waiting on that one. Sloan is coming back. We get the destination back, which I really love the archipelago. It's the inside building, kind of the other half, which we never had a landing zone for. You had to run to. But still, cool destination. Glad to see it coming back. Wish it would stay, but I wouldn't expect it to stay post final shape. That stuff tends not to do that. So they talk about aspects. We'll get to demos of those coming up a little bit later. We've got there is no level increase. That is a big one. So no level increase at all. So if you're Pinnacle capped right now, you're good. All you're going to be doing now is just working on the content that's in front of you. We are getting exotic armor focusing. So at tier 1, which is going to cost you an Engram, 30,000 Glimmer, and just an Ascendant Shard, you can pick it in kind of buckets. So like Red War Legs, Forsaken Exotic Armor, which will be probably class-based. Beyond Light, Witch Queen, Lightfall, Shadowkeep. So based on expansion, or Red War had a lot more, so it'd be based on armor slot. Exotic tier 2 is going to be 60,000 Glimmer, an Exotic Engram, 3 Ascendant Shards, and 1 Exotic Cipher. Now I'm hoping we get more sources for this, but we typically don't have a lot besides Zer's bounty once a week. If you do not have an Exotic Cipher, and you don't have his bounty, please go pick up that bounty. It's going to be one of your ways to actually pick up an extra one of those. But that one you go to literally a specific piece of armor. And the only reason that this actually seems somewhat worth your time is because Exotic should roll consistently with higher stats, which, again, we're all going to have to see it to believe it, and more frequently individual stat spikes in Season 21. You can expect the average stats to be in the mid-60s. Now, I would still probably go and farm Lost Sectors, as opposed to doing some of this stuff. To get Ascendant Shards, you got to go run Grandmasters, stuff like that. Master Nightfalls. So running a Lost Sector still is going to be a decent way to farm. Hopefully the exotics drop with better stats, though, across the board. Because if I spend all of this on a very specific exotic and I get a 58 with a junk stat roll, I'm going to be pissed. So spending all the currency, getting a good stat roll in the mid-60s. I mean, if we're talking 64 to 66 base with spikes, we got potential. So we will have to see how all of that turns out. Also, as they said, they're not raising the Pinnacle cap. They're going to be turning some of the Pinnacles into exotic Engrams. So you're going to be able to earn yourself more exotic Engrams more frequently, which means you can just roll the dice on exotics at Rahul, and you don't have to pay any of this stuff, which is fine. Right up here, no additional cost. Go to him, random exotic pool. So if you want to do that for a while, see if you can, flesh out your collection of exotics with better stats. Then when you kind of accumulate some of this stuff, or you get a decent amount of exotic shards saved up, and you're like, I know I want a good whatever, then you could go spend some of them. But for a while, I would tell you guys, if you're somewhat newer, you don't have god rolls on like half of your stuff, for a while, I mean, some are going to be better than others, but just, don't spend any extra. Have those exotics just randomly roll for a little while and see how it goes. Because if you can get weekly exotic Engrams as like a reward and you can go farm a few of them a week, once you save up this stuff, it's probably not going to be hard to burn the exotic Engram. But saving this stuff up, I would be careful how frequently you spend that stuff. Unless you're just, somebody with a golden vault or something like that. But other sources, so you get random world drops, season pass, reputation. And again, you'll still be able to get stuff in other places. Deep Sight. So the Deep Sight Harmonizer is going to be something you can get only from the season pass, 3 in the free and 3 in the paid ranks. What this is going to be is if you have a craftable weapon frame that you have not unlocked and you get a normal version of said weapon, what you can do is apply the Deep Sight Harmonizer to that normal weapon. It will turn it into a Deep Sight, like a red border weapon, of which you can then extract the pattern progress. Right now, they're only doing the 6 total. So again, if you're trying to unlock a bunch of old stuff, you won't be able to do that for a while. But if you are trying to unlock, so think about it, if there's like an old weapon you didn't quite unlock, or if there's a very specific raid weapon, now would be your time if you go run any raids or something else where you're like, hey, there's one raid weapon that I know I really want. Start saving those. And it will help. If you guys hear my dogs yell, I'll probably take a little cut here, so sorry about that. Crafting costs, legendary shards will be removed. Enhanced weapon costs are based on masterwork costs. For now, they're going to modify that stuff later and leave some of those costs there. Quality of life updates. If you do triumphs for any of these raids like Deepstone Crypt, Last Wish, Vow, the triumphs are going to give you a better chance at getting the exotic to drop. So if you do a flawless, a master, you do challenges, going to give you a better chance of those exotics if you're still farming for them. It's mostly what that's for. Finest Matterweave and Rainmaker are going away. Now, all existing instances of Rainmaker can be dismantled for 3,000 Glimmer. I have a lot of those, so I'm hoping they let you do a few more than that at a time. Same thing with these. Finest Matterweave for 1 enhancement core. I don't want to go through and break down 500 of each of these, but they are going to be able to be discarded. Hopefully they figure out a way to do that quicker, but for now, you'll at least be able to get rid of them and you won't accumulate any more. They're going to update some of the Vanguard bounties. Good Boy Protocol is coming back. Season passes will cost a bit more. Now, this is something I hope they'd address, because there's no way to get exactly 12,000 silver. 1,200 silver, sorry. Right now, if you buy the 1,000 silver bundle, you get 100 more. And then, or to get up to like 1,500, you have to buy a little bit more. So hopefully, they need to establish a way that if you buy whatever you just need to be able to buy exactly how much you need. If they don't do that, I still have issues with that. Price going up basically matches the Lightfall season pass model, because it was $100 for the year, 50 for the expansion. And then, you know, if you buy the 4 seasons separately, $1,200, it kind of adds up. The dungeon key is separate, but if you bought it all together as Lightfall, that pricing kind of makes sense. It is just what games are doing now. They cost more, but this is what they need to fix. You need to be able to purchase just the season exactly. If you cannot buy exactly that much silver, I do have a problem with that. You got new trial stuff, so you got a new shell, ship, and sparrow, and then also a new shader. And then also looks like you're going to be getting new shaders per season. Messenger is coming back next season. We're also getting an adaptive arc glaive. Not sure a glaive is going to be like highly sought after, except for a few people, but we'll see how that goes. Trials labs, there were some tweaks in there. Trials is going to be Dominion, which is, I think, a capture-based thing. So Trials is no longer just going to be survival. It is going to be Dominion in Season 21. Passage of Wealth is going to do increased rep. Passage of Mercy will forgive 2 losses if you have not been flawless. They're also changing up the 2 pools that you're going to be in of matchmaking. They're going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be like if you've gone flawless or not. Basically, the incentive is if you go flawless and get to the lighthouse, they're trying to incentivize you to stay that way. So keep your flawless ticket and just keep playing. You'll get chances at other things. So that'll be there. That's a full breakdown of like Dominion, Gilded Flawless. That's actually going to be an emblem you can earn. So you have to literally not trail during any match of a flawless run. So it's not going to be an easy thing to do. You have to literally be ahead 5-4, for example, for every match. You cannot trail. I don't know if you can even tie, but you can't trail for sure. Then we get to exotic armor tuning. I'm not going to touch all of these, but I'll still get the ones I think that are important. So let's see, additional strength while the exotic weighted knife bonus is active. Sealed Ahamkar's graphs. This exotic will now reload the magazine of all your weapons when you defeat a target with your powered melee, and for 5 seconds after dealing melee damage, you gain increased movement and jump height, which is interesting. Raiju's Harness, when deactivating your Arc Staff Super, you create a blinding explosion. All right, sorry for the odd cut. Dogs are barking. Had to check on what they were doing. Stompies was a big one. I know I saw this all over Twitter. So they removed the airborne effectiveness penalties, which is fine, but you only gain increased speed, slide, and improved jumping while your dodge is full. So this is kind of one of those things, a debate of if skill-based matchmaking is there, why are you making the actual verticality a issue? This will be a debate for a while. Hunters, I was like, hey, if you got the skill to play vertical, more power to you. That's just one of those where Bungie apparently doesn't agree with quite a bit of the higher end PvP community on that one. So we'll see how this one fleshes out, but they are trying this one, which I don't know. See how it goes. Mask of Bacchus, which is not the picture, by the way. That's the Titan thing. So some of these, I'll explain this once because quite a few of these work this way. Change to use a 4-tier non-stacking weapon damage bonus, which behaves the same as the non-stacking damage bonus provided by Surge mods. Damage bonus increased in PvE from 10% to 25%, and now gains a 6% bonus to weapon damage in PvP. No longer stacks with Surge mods, but provides a larger bonus that can be achieved with 3 such mods equipped. So basically, it's stacking damage. We'll get a little bit more on that down here. Point contact brace. So the PvE damage from per lightning bolt from 50 to 200. If you're amplified, the damage of the lightning strike goes up by like 50% and increases their range. In the lightning strike, now jolts targets. Am I going to use this thing in PvE? I don't know. I still kind of doubt it because it's just like you are so stuck. But if it's powerful enough that like the juice is worth the squeeze of being like stuck in place, maybe. No backup plans. This is going to be your shotgun running warriors of crazy. Seems like this is going to be really potent, actually. Provides a moderate benefit to airborne and reloads of shotguns, which is fine. While you have a void overshield, shotguns deal additional damage. Shotgun final blows refresh your overshield. And if you are using a void subclass, rapid shotgun final blows or defeating a powerful enemy, which may or may not be a guardian, we'll see, with a shotgun grants you a void overshield and kicks off your health regeneration. So yeah, if you love running around with a shotgun in PvP, for sure, there's a lot of those people. Maybe PvE, not sure it's going to be like PvE survivable, but we'll see. That would be an interesting to run around with the new raid shotgun with a couple of those perks you can stack together. The second chance, which is the shield throw, now weakens enemies and stunning a barrier champion with your shield throw melee grants a full single charge back. So if you throw it and stun them, break the shield, which is kind of part of the idea behind it, then you actually get one back. So if they get out of that one, you'll be able to throw it again, which I kind of like. I don't know if it's one I'll just pull out of the vault and use for barriers, but gives Void an option for barriers that's a little more reliable than volatile rounds because we don't have volatile, or we won't next season. Stronghold got a little bit of a rework. Basically, replace the healing from blocking shots precisely with significant damage reduction. So 50% damage reduction while blocking, just in general. When you stop blocking, you gain ×2 restoration, which, if you guys remember the Solar 3.0 season, that's really strong. With a duration that increases based on the number of shots you block. So if you can take a number of blocks, and then when you stop blocking, you get that kind of healing. I don't know if swords are going to be viable, per se, like in Grandmasters, but messing around with the sword should be a lot more successful if you're using Stronghold. Eternal Warrior, this is another one. This is kind of that arc damage tier 4 stacking, so I'll read this one. Rapid takedowns with an arc weapon grant an escalating bonus to arc weapon damage, using the same non-stacking damage bonus used by Surge mods. This can go all the way up to tier 4 damage bonus, granting a damage bonus of 25% in PvE, 6% in PvP, providing a larger bonus that can be achieved using 3 Surge mods equipped, or with 3 Surge mods equipped. While the tier 4 damage bonus, while at tier 4, arc kills refresh the bonus's duration. After your Fist of Havoc super ends, you gain the tier 4 damage bonus. So if you like arc, you like your Fist of Havoc super, as opposed to Thunder Crash, and you want some bonus arc damage pretty much all the time, there's going to be some interesting arc builds, because when I get to later sections when we talk about the artifact, arc sounds like it actually could be a ton of fun. Void does too, but arc actually could be worth the play. It's going to be offensive, but interesting. Kepri's Horn, the damage wave now scorches targets. Path of Burning Steps, change to use the non-stacking damage bonus, same thing. Dune Marches, reduce the range and damage in PvP. And Warlocks, Vesper of Radius. I know my co-host is pretty excited. If you ever want to check out a podcast, by the way, it's right here on this channel, live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time, usually, unless something changes. So hit the subscribe button, hit the alert bell if you don't want to miss the podcast. We always have fun talking about Destiny in here. But it says, Vesper of Radius, your Rift emits an arc shockwave every 5 seconds, so you should get 3 of them, that deals damage 200 in PvP and 70 in PvE, or 200 in PvE, 70 in PvP. Enemies defeated by these shockwaves explode for an additional 100 damage, and if you have arc subclass equipped, also blind nearby enemies. So again, if you are being more aggressive with an arc subclass and you drop that Rift, that damage could be big, and then if you get more additional blinding explosions, could be quite spicy. Chromatic Fire sounds fun. Increase the radius and damage of the explosion created by kinetic takedowns. The explosion also applies a status effect, which is actually pretty cool. Arc is blind, Solar Scorch, Stasis slow, Sever strand, weaken void. So if you're going Chromatic Fire and you get a, and if you're running a void subclass, precision kills now weaken targets. That's kind of nuts all the time. So like Void Weaken debuffs are going to be good. Blinding by Arc, nice for slowing stuff down, but Weaken and Void and some of the Void stuff coming next season on the artifact could also be fun. Dawn Course, Daybreak, projectiles damage bonus has been increased and no longer is reliant on enemies being scorched. So just the Daybreak projectiles do more. Sanguine Alchemy, standing in a rift grants a non-stacking bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass damage type. This damage bonus is the equivalent of 2 leg surge mods. You can kind of see the percentages there, 17 or 4.5. Claws of Ahamkara, powered melee kills create an orb of power. When heavy-handed mods are equipped, increases the potency of the orb spawned. Mantle of Battle Harmony. Weapon bonus damage changed to tier 4 when super is fully charged, increasing damage bonus in PvE from 20 to 25%, and reducing the damage bonus from 15 to 6% in PvP. So more in PvE, less in PvP. They're kind of normalizing all of these to about 25% in PvE, 6% in PvP. No longer stacks with surge leg mods and all that fun stuff. Ophidian Aspect, remove the melee range. Again, that's kind of normalizing and also helping with some weird like networking bugs. Prometheum Spur grants Rift energy for any solar weapon takedown. The more energy granted for solar weapon takedowns while standing in a Rift. So if you use a solar weapon, you get more. Also, you now have to be standing in a Rift when you get a final blow for the exotic to consume your class ability and create a Rift on the target's location. Starfile, this one got shot. I don't know if it's going to be doing too much. Reduce the amount of energy gained per instance of damage from 20% to 2.5%. Empowered weapon kills now grant 20% grenade energy. It's got to be kills, not damage. So Starfire is going to be hitting much less strong. Basically, it'll be good against multiple targets, less good for single target DPS like nuking bosses. The TWAB after that one, we cover Guardian games, and we had a teaser trailer, which we're going to get the big trailer tomorrow. We have the new weapon for Season of the Deep. It is the Last Right Scout Rifle. It's going to be a Tex Mechanica kinetic aggressive scout rifle. The Tex Mechanica is kind of similar to Dead Man's Tale, and then the long arm from the recent dungeon that we had. So stay tuned to see how that one goes. But I don't love those because they lean into that whole PvE hipfire kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes, but could have some interesting perks. It's kinetic. Maybe it gets kinetic tremor, so that could be interesting. This is the armor that we've got for Season of the Deep. And honestly, I've been thinking about what I keep hearing like jellyfish, and I don't think I can not see it. But this is probably some of the ornaments. But I think the jellyfish, the way kind of like the class item and the chest piece flow, kind of the way they have the little tentacles and flowy bits. Probably jellyfish armor is what that one's going to get called. This is literally someplace we're going. I don't know how else to describe that, but we're going here. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to be underwater, I guess. I don't know how that's going to work. The dungeon is coming. Told you guys. Stay tuned. We'll jump in. We'll work on it all the way through. Eververse recommendations. That's going to be a new thing on Eververse where they just recommend stuff for you. It's up to you if you want to take advantage. Weapon changes. We have weapon reticle updates. This is something that doesn't do much for me, but Cognito in my podcast was very excited about all this stuff. Hipfire reticles and FOV and the way things look and just kind of little things. The charge meters on fusion rifles, I don't mind that one. Sword reticles now show the current sword guard energy. Fusion rifles now have a charge meter under the reticle. I kind of like those, but the reticles like themselves doesn't do much for me, but I know for certain players it will. So more power to whoever wants those. So you've got custom exotic reticles, experimental aim down sights reticle, all of that stuff's coming in there. They've also got screenshots going. Basically, you can now inspect the weapon and like rotate it. So you'll be able to look at it from all sides. If you're taking a screenshot, for example, you might be able to actually move it enough so it fits in the whole frame. For us thumbnail people like me, that'll be good. Full auto melee is coming for accessibility. So that'll just be something, I guess you can hold it and punch as fast as you can. Also, we'll work with swords, glaives, all that kind of stuff. Weapon archetypes. Biggest one is the Immortal. Range is coming down by 10. Aggressive submachine guns are having the base damage lowered. But if you can still hit crits, it's going to be a little bit better. So if you're accurate, you might not hit as far, but you still should get decent times to kill. Sniper rifles get a PvE damage bonus by 10%. Something like Cloud Strike is going to be still very strong. But again, Izzy doesn't get the perk. And rapid fires have their reserves bumped up recently. So, I mean, rapid fire sniper rifles for PvE damage, maybe not an awful backup option anymore. We'll have to see. Exotic weapons. Rise of Tomorrow. Killing 4 targets with a missile volley refunds 1 ammo. So if you use it for ad clearing, which kind of is its purpose, you get some ammo back. That actually has some cool potential. Graviton Lance is going to feel like Revision Zero's kind of 2-hit burst. Should be a little easier to manage. And remember, it's an exotic, so it's got 40% damage bonus. It just got the 20% for pulses. Graviton could be fun if it actually feels good. Jade Rabbit's getting a bit of a change. So quickly hitting 3 critical hits now refunds 3 shots instead of 1. So that's kind of like triple instead of triple tap. Flying around with the Mana Core, I still don't think I'm ever going to use that gun. I just don't want to float around in the air. Lumina, you can have 1 more round. Heart Shadow, damage increase now activates quicker while invisible at 1/4 second. Heart Shadow now weakens upon dealing any damage while the damage increase is active. World Line 0 is getting a boost to damage by about 8.5%. Sweet Business, I've got to see this in action because we were talking about this on the podcast. To me, it doesn't sound exciting. It fires explosive rounds every 20 shots. I don't know what that means. Could it be like a Jotun? Is it like a grenade? Or is it just like explosive payload where the bullet hits twice? I don't know what it means. We will have to find out and see. Now, Legend of Acrius is one that not a lot of you probably pay attention to that much, but is a beast arc shotgun, just short range. Total ammo max now at 16. Big difference. That is literally a boost of, well, 33%. Increase the maximum distance as well to 12 meters. So not something I'd run around with in PvP and probably expect to be too crazy with it. But I will tell you in PvE, could have some fun. Tommy's Matchbook will now apply Scorch. And then more with Embers of Ashes. Of course, No Time to Explain is going to work with Anti-Barrier. So that's going to be nice. No Time to Explain drone wouldn't work against barrier shields when it had anti-barrier effect. We fixed that. So if pulse rifles are anti-barrier, it'll work correctly like this season, but I don't know if they're next season. Skyburner's Oath now applies Scorch. So if that's your jam, could be a little more fun with Scorch, or it increases the Scorch stack, sorry. Salvation's Grip. You're going to have a normal grenade launcher with the uncharged shot, and then the charged shot is a pattern of stasis crystals. I don't know if this is going to make it like meta or anything, but it may not be completely awful. Bad Juju had apparently auto rifle recoil, so that should be better. Fighting Lion fixed an issue that was causing this weapon to do more damage than intended. Thunderlord fixed an issue that was resulting in hits against a divinity bubble counting as 2 crits instead of 1. So that was giving you more lightning strikes than usual, so your Thunderlord melting DPS may not be quite as strong. Winter's Bite initial version included an exploitable damage bug, which hopefully has been fixed for like the 3rd time. Few changes to some perks and some stuff that's coming down the road. There's a big sword update coming with the goal of making guarding substantially more valuable. So again, us Titans who can guard with a sword a little better than others, that could be something to lean into and look at. We'll see if it's actually a big deal or not, but again, getting close in something like a Grandmaster sounds really risky always. That's why it's always kind of a gamble. Finally, TWAB this week, so it's like they went through everything. We had the economy updates, we had the weapon sandbox tuning, abilities tuning, exotic armor, quality of life improvements, new Vanguard bounties, you know, the currencies that are going away, Vanguard triumphs, boosts for exotics, Crucible changes, all of that stuff. So you had the new aspects for Strand, which are coming next season. Threaded Spectre for the Hunter. Literally going to allow you to leave a decoy as a hunter. Quite powerful. The Flechette Storm is going to be like a melee where, like, if you do the melee while you slide, you jump in the air and get a little pushback. Then you can fire this thing like 5 times for the melees. Has potential. Because usually if I'm using the Shackle Grenade, I've got my shackle, like, suspending covered. I don't need my exotic. So then if I can lean into this a little bit more, I'll be curious to see how that one goes. The Wanderer, basically if you throw a Tangle, you attach it to an enemy and then it causes everything around it to suspend when it bursts. Pretty cool to force suspension. The artifact is going to be able to refund better. So if you pick some and then you need to back it up, you don't have to do a full reset. So that'll be good. And this is where you just guys can think about builds. Anti-barrier autos, overloads, scout and trace, unstoppables, glaives and hand cannons. Column 2. So the cheaper mods are going to be arc, void, strand, melee instead of grenades. And then Technicolor Siphon is the siphon mods for strand and arc combined. Column 3. Increase the amount of damage dealt by unraveling. These are some like the unsated hunger. I think that's got to be the new origin trait. But basically just improves the benefits of those. Defeating a void debuff target. There's a couple loops in here for perks that sound really fun. Defeating a void debuff target creates a void breach while your void subclass is equipped. Okay, so you need a void debuff target and you need to defeat it. Got it. For Arc, stay amplified longer while your Arc subclass is equipped. Seems pretty obvious. And grants bonus Arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or amplified. Lasts until the end of the super activation. So if you can get amplified, your super is going to do more. So again, Arc leaning pretty good. Your strand weapons gain unraveling rounds whenever you gain woven mail while your strand subclass is equipped. So if you get woven mail, then you get unraveling rounds. Then up here, the damage you get by unraveling is more. Okay, so that's your strand stuff. So any of the weapons with those origin traits are always overcharged when overcharge is active. Now, picking up a void breach grants you an overshield. So now if you defeat a void target and pick up the breach, you get an overshield. So that's that loop. Gain a stack of armor charge when you stun a champion. Not bad. Gain damage resistance while amplified. So if you're going Arc and you're in the mix, a little harder to kill. Then targets affected by strand debuffs, like unraveling, take increased damage from Arc and void abilities, which is more kind of team play. Some of this seems to be leaning into. Arc final blows while you're amplified summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. So literally, if you're running your super and you kill things while amplified, you're also going to have lightning come down. Remember, picking up a void breach causes your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse. So here's your loop for void. Pick up a void breach picking up a void breach gives you an overshield or extends it and causes your next source of damage to create a weakening pulse, and defeat a void debuff target, aka the weakening pulse, creates a void breach. So then pick up the void breach and do it all over again. So that is going to be a fun loop. For Arc, we already had the things where you gain damage resistance while amplified. Now, on top of that, Arc final blows while you're amplified summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. After throwing an Arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge for a short time. So you get your grenade back faster. Arc final blows extend the duration of this benefit. So Arc final blows while you're amplified summon a burst of lightning. You are more damage resistant. You stay amplified longer. Grants bonus super damage. So, like, you're going to have some Arc builds and you're going to have some Void builds. Strand seems a little... Strand will be weaker this season for sure. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It'll be okay. And it's a nice subclass, but it is going to feel weaker this season. Void and Arc is what they're going to have some fun with some builds, I can tell you that. Enemy shields, this is how they used to be. This is how they're going to be now, kind of more universal. It's for accessibility. If you don't like how it looks, maybe either here nor there, because if it's accessibility and things of that nature, then honestly, more power to them. Like, I shouldn't really complain when it's something that doesn't affect me. Can I still see it's a purple shield? Yeah. Do I think the old one looks better? Personally, sure, but if it helps for accessibility, easier application, things for them to manage for accessibility to be better, go for it. Stabilizing, they talk about the servers. So now when they do like patches on weekly reset, they're probably gonna have about an hour and a half of downtime for the updates to hopefully have those things go sooner. They had like the 15-minute downtime, wasn't really working too well. So at this point, they're gonna kind of change things up that way. Titans did win Guardian games, in case you weren't aware of that one. They've got their Asians for Bungie campaign going on with a pretty cool emblem. Supporting all of those communities and everything is always important. Twitch subs. So if you are hanging out on Twitch, come. We'll make sure my Twitch panel is active. Gift 2 subs to the channel. Get yourself a new emblem. Always a good way to support your creators. And downtime. As I said, the trailer is going to come out at 8 a.m. So I'll be live streaming that. Destiny is going to go down about 15 minutes later. If they don't bring it down a little earlier, I'd be surprised. But right about when the trailer goes up, servers are going to go down tomorrow morning. If you have any more engrams, other stuff that you want to do, Bungie rewards that you want to buy, any and all of that type of stuff, now is your time to cash in all of your engrams at your vendors, pick up all your stuff, and then also make sure you get all your Bungie rewards. Other than that, Season of the Deep is tomorrow. And that's the big thing is with Season of the Deep coming, going back to a planet, new story, see how all of that goes. We get the dungeon on Friday, so come hang out. I'll be over on Twitch on Tuesday for sure, Friday for sure, and then probably a couple days in and around those as well. If you enjoy the content here, though, we are less than 1,000 subs away from 100,000. Like, probably about, when this thing comes out, about 800 away. So if you enjoy my content, watch stuff before, and you want to give a little support, just hit that subscribe button. Hit the alert bell if you want to see future videos from me. And if you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter, it's Ebontis. Thank you guys very much. I know this is a long one, but trying to wrap up everything that we've got coming up tomorrow. So get some sleep, and I will see you all tomorrow in Season the Deep.